everyone. This is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we will be talking about how inflation is high, highest it's been in 40 years. Gas prices are high. National average is about $5 now. Michigan is way over that average. I think we're going to get to $6 really quick. I was hoping we wouldn't even really get to $5, but those were pipe dreams, and now this is our new reality as of now because we have morons running the country, or just maybe they're not in so much that they're morons, but just intentionally trying to drive so many people over the edge because they believe the ends justify the means. So we'll be talking about Dana Nessel. She's the Attorney General of Michigan, and the other day she tweeted out a news report about high gas price, and she's like, take pictures and let us know if there's price gouging. And I'm like, who are you directing this towards? Like, are you like going after like Exxon or like these big companies? Because if you think these gas stations are just gouging their prices for their customers, I don't know how many conversations people have had with people who work at the gas stations, but they are like, I had a few and they're like, we're not making money really off of the gas. Like, I talked to one person, they said maybe like 15 cents. And but we do in Michigan have a high gas tax, it's 27 cents, and we have a sales tax, and the Republicans tried to suspend it, but Democrats didn't want to do that because they said too much money would not go to like the general fund. So there's things that people can do, but they don't want to do it because they still want to fund things that they want to fund. So they're always looking for someone else to point the finger. Yesterday, January 6th, committee hearing thing happened. I'm gonna be honest, I did not watch it. I've just read some coverage and some things, people talking about it. I had more things I wanted to do yesterday. So, but I don't suspect that a lot of people watched it. Frank Lutz was talking about how he had students watching it, and like the TV was on and no one was watching it, though the TV was on, and it was just going too far. And in the end, it's not going to achieve what they want to achieve. But I also want to talk a little bit again about what happened yesterday when Ryan Kelly, who's out on a personal bond, I believe, and he was arrested. He's the top candidate right now running for governor in Michigan. And he was he didn't go into the building, but they are charging him with 4 misdemeanors, raided his house with a ton of people, arrested him in front of his small children and his wife, and pretty messed up. And the timing is really crazy considering it's been like 17 months that you sat on this and then arrested somebody. Yeah, so there's just a lot of news today. I really want to talk about Eric Swalwell, which I did a video yesterday on TikTok, but we're going to talk about it here today. This tweet that he had about McConnell really wants the Democrats to pass some kind of protection for the justices, and Swalwell saying, well, it's all of a sudden thoughts and prayers won't cut it. And I'm just like, how can you guys be so godless and stupid? Godless is bad enough, but stupid, come on. So we're going to talk about all those things. But before you jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different things that we have on the website, different videos, different articles. Make sure that you guys are like signing up. Make sure you're following me across all my different social media platforms, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Getter. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, there should be a link with all the sort of platforms and stuff on there. So make sure that you are following. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, especially since it is my birthday. It is my birthday today. I'm 33 years old. So as my sisters would say, now I'm as old as Jesus, and next year it'll be you older than Jesus. But yeah, I'm 33 today. A friend of mine was like, man, I guess people usually think I'm a little younger than that and don't suspect that I'm in my 30s, but yes, I am there. I am there. So thank you for the happy birthday. But if you would like to support blacktnews.com, it's a good day. It's a good reason to go ahead and go to blacktnews.com slash donate and support. So I got the little ticker thing at the bottom to remind you throughout the broadcast if you'd be so inclined. A few announcements before I get in this with the news. Tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, we will be going back to Let's TikTok about it on Saturday nights. Usually, like we have a guest on from like TikTok somewhere normally, and we talk about different videos and whatnot. So I wanted to have like a panel, like a special sort of birthday thing, but some of the people that I want to have on couldn't work it out. So I'm gonna have on This Is Savvy. And This Is Savvy is a good enough guest all by herself. This Is Savvy is a conservative powerhouse voice on that app. If you don't follow her, she's just a wealth of knowledge, and she has a very interesting way of saying things, putting things in perspective. We agree on a lot. It's amazing how people can have such similar beliefs yet still be so different. Like when people try to like, oh, all you black Republicans or whatever is the same. I don't know how much she can. I mean, I assume she probably consider herself a Republican, but more kind of conservative. But she's definitely, voting the same way that I'm pretty much voting. But the just to still think different thinking patterns and some life experiences, though we believe similar things with like family and faith and stuff, still coming from different sort of backgrounds. So it is fascinating how similar people can be yet so different. So she really always makes for interesting commentary, and we have a good time, before we go live, after we go live, me and her to usually chat for a little bit. So I'm really really excited to have her on. So if you are available, I would make the time to join me and This Is Savvy, who has almost 1 million followers on TikTok, which that is pretty rare for someone on the right, because they cancel people left and right. My main account is actually been shadow banned for since February, which means that they don't put it in the For You page. I'm only in my videos show up to people who are following me, which I have almost 90,000. I thought I should be have already had over 100,000 by now, but they karate chop blocked me. So I started a separate account and started posting on my separate account and kind of rebuilding my stuff. But usually they will ban your account. Her account has been like banned twice, but so many people wrote TikTok, message TikTok and stuff that they brought it back. So she has a really big account. She's a important content creator, and she just has a lot of words of wisdom. So you will like Savvy if you're not aware of Savvy. How do you spell her name? Her username on TikTok is SAVVY. It's This Is Savvy. This Is Savvy is her TikTok handle. I'll have an ad up later today on my social media posting about it, and I'll do TikTok about it later. Just haven't had the time. But I'm excited about it, so I want to let you guys know and really encourage you guys to join me tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, with This Is Savvy, and I will be streaming on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch as always. So another announcement: if you are in the Michigan area tonight at my church, we are having a special Q&A with my mom. My mom is I'm actually very introverted. If you don't know me, you might not know that because I'm always talking to you guys and going to stuff and performing and whatnot. But I like had to break out of that kind of stuff. But I'm very introverted. My mom's very introverted, but she's been the first lady of our church for forever, and she raised 7 kids. So a lot of people from my dad all the time talk, and so they want to know from my mom's perspective. So we talked her into doing a Q&A. It will not be live streamed. So usually we will stream services. This will not be live streamed. But if you are in the Michigan area and you would like to hear how a woman managed to birth her 7 children naturally, and then you don't have to do that. Just that's an impressive thing I like to throw out there sometimes. And how she raised 6 girls and a son in this era, and they all turn out pretty good, and how she deals with that, how she's dealt with certain things in her life. I like to say that my mother practiced proactive love, that she made good decisions before, she was even married, before I was a twinkle in anyone's eye. She made very good decisions for herself that set up her children in good circumstances so they would be able to live good, healthy lives. So it's really good advice you'll get tonight. So if you're in the Michigan area, at 7:30, again Eastern time, because that's what Michigan's time is. This is the address for my church. I will be doing the Q&A, and I guess probably the beginning of the church will basically be like normal sort of service with like singing and stuff, which I'm on the praise team if you want to come and enjoy that. But not sure exactly when. It'll probably be like 7:30ish is probably when it'll start the Q&A. But I would encourage, if you can make it, if you're in Michigan somewhere, um with the you knowing it now, you can probably make it and it'll be a good time. So come by, hear this good Q&A. We got lots of good questions for her, and then of course I will be there and you can say hi to Black Tea. All right, so that is it for my announcements for now. So let's get into the news of the day. You guys know that I like to start with a funny. And this is just going back to yesterday. I saw this posted, after we had talked about all this. So I just wanted to bring it back. The same FBI that tried to kidnap Whitmer is now, I'm sorry, let me get rid of the ticker thing, is now harassing her opponent. So, you can always go to the Willy Wonka meme for some good sort of tea. So, if you're unaware, we talked about this yesterday, but the Michigan GOP candidate right now, he is leading in the polls. He wasn't leading in the polls before, but we had a bunch of candidates, and I won't go on to it. But they had some companies who were doing ballot signature collections, and they got had, basically. A lot of people did fraudulent ballots, and a lot of stuff got thrown out. And now I don't doubt that a lot of those signatures were not valid, but the state also didn't actually prove or verify that every single one that they threw out was bad. So it's a really messy situation, because I don't feel like the state proved their case, even though we're pretty sure like they didn't get enough signatures because they were bad. But anyway, they decided that they're going to be thrown off the ballot. Actually, Chief Craig, who was a former police chief of Detroit, he said that he's not giving up and is going to do a write-in. And I think that's crazy, just to be frank with you. Write-ins are very hard to do. I would say very expensive. And I know he has name ID. I don't know if he has that kind of capital. Hasn't been raising it, to my knowledge. Not to pull off something as impressive as a write-in again to succeed over all the other candidates. Perry Johnson said that's very hard, and he's still fighting out his battles in court. Now, it's not impossible that they could win in court, because there have been other situations where people have been kicked off, and the state really didn't, like I said, prove its case. So other courts in the past with cases like that have just basically allowed them on the ballot. So Perry does have money to go to court, and which basically is how he was starting to take the lead, because he just had money, was flooding with like commercials and other stuff like that. He came on the scene, and then it seemed like everybody, at least who I know watches local TV, knew who he was because they seen his commercials. But I think if they do get back on the ballot, you have the Democrats with some really, what they feel is strong talking points, trying to say Republicans are just the corrupt with fraud and other stuff like that. So even though like Craig and Perry and other candidates who have been booted off because of the fraudulent signatures, I don't think that they had anything personally to do with that. But the Democrats are painting them as the fraudulent kind of people, and now they're also trying to carry that over with Ryan Kelly. And I read yesterday the statement from the Michigan Democrat Party, but that is their goal, to paint like a corruption ticket, like they're too dangerous for our democracy, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be their thing. Our thing is going to be like our governor is responsible for people dying and ruining businesses and things that, actually happen. So, You can pick it. You pick your poison, I suppose. Um, but it is really a hot mess with the Michigan politics right now, I suppose. But Ryan Kelly, he was arrested. He is out like on um bond and stuff. So he was at the Capitol on January 6th. They're charging him for 4 misdemeanors. You may be saying, didn't that happen 17 months ago? Yes, it did happen 17 months ago, which is very curious timing that they raided his house and with I heard it was 25 agents. Arrested him from his wife and his little kids and took him to jail over 4 misdemeanors that they were sitting on for 17 months. It just seems super shady. Super shady. And I will tell you from my circle of Michigan friends and whatnot, people are rallying around Ryan after this, and I would not be surprised if he got a bigger bump in the polls. Now, with the mainstream media and the Democrats pushing the January 6th hearings and stuff, and how they're trying to phrase things, which are basically trying to phrase things, I believe, as if you are a Republican and you basically support January 6th, and if you vote Republican, then you basically support January 6th. And ultimately, I believe the Democrats would really probably like Ryan Kelly to be the nominee because they're going to push that narrative. That doesn't mean then the narrative will work because our governor is awful. She should have been recalled, but the recalled stuff never went through. Which, by the way, she used a loophole with the recall to be able to raise more money than she ought to have been able to raise. She has an astronomical war chest. She benefited off of some loopholes, man. Um, she's awful governor. She shouldn't be in charge. Nessel and Benson, they should all go. And I will support anyone who's on our remaining field. I don't As of right now, I think he's going to continue to get a boost. He definitely has his name ID shot up there. I was kind of surprised that Ryan was at 19% because I didn't know his ID wasn't. I thought other people would have like higher ID, I guess, and other people did have higher ID. But I know he was really going on the campaign trail, going a lot of grassroots stuff. I've seen Ryan so many times, I know Ryan. If I text Ryan for a comment or something, I can get it and stuff. He's pretty accessible. So so but I'm still surprised to see him at 19. But New York Times, AP, like everybody's talking about it. Everybody was talking about it yesterday. It was major news. So he's definitely going to continue to get a bump with this. I don't know if the Democrats are doing 4D chess with trying to get Ryan as the number one person, and then they time the January 6th and hope that that's how they're going to take him down. If you're like, how could our FBI be that political? Come on, seemed like a political stunt. The timing is so suspect, guys. But I think that I don't know. I think it's mainly just a thing to punish people. I think it's mainly a thing to punish people, but we'll see. They could be trying to play those sort of games, but that's the backstory with this meme I decided to share. Um, Also, with the January 6th thing, I saw some tweets and stuff by Frank Lutz. He had a classroom of people watching it, and then they stopped watching it. And he was just tweeting, "This is too long. Like all this time with like Liz Cheney talking to a screen, a lot of people not finding out new information." Now, there were some video montages which people, hitting cops and other kind of stuff like that. That's awful, and people who rioted and did illegal things need to be punished for them, for sure. Um, and that's not a controversial thing to say, and a lot of people will say it. People who were there will say that. So I don't know where all they plan to go. They did talk about how there's some people in the Trump camp who were saying that they knew that or believed that Trump lost publicly, I mean privately, while kind of espousing things differently in the public sphere. So I I don't know how many people are watching that, so I don't know how big of a point that's gonna be for people as far as like moving the needle. So this is obviously a political grab, power grab, trying to redefine the midterms, and I don't believe it's going to work. New York Times said it a few days ago, like Democrats are going to use January 6th to reshape the midterms. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for the Democrats in the House. And I believe they'll also lose the Senate. And I think this red wave is going to be huge. I hope that Republicans are worthy of it, though. Yeah, like Oz, if he wins in the Senate, he's kind of squishy on a lot of topics, including gun issues. You have 10 Republicans who just voted for the to limit like AR-15 or semi-automatic rifles, that you can't purchase them under the age of 21, which we've talked about why that's dumb, and we're not go too into it today. But there were 10 Republicans. I think I still have the list. Nope, that's not it. This is it. So there's a list of the 10. I'm not surprised about Kinzinger because he kind of hinted it the other day on an interview, which we trashed him for on the show. Upton is, I believe, not running again. So I don't know, just going out with a crazy sort of bang here, I suppose. Not sure what's going on with some of these other guys. I guess I'm not surprised that people voted crazy stuff in New York and other stuff, but this is crazy because in California, a federal appeals court struck down a law that was like banning kids from 18 to 21, I think, from having semi-automatic guns and stuff. So this stuff will get shot down. These people made an oath to the Constitution. Perhaps they should try actually going by that. So let's since I mentioned that, I want to lead in with this Eric Swalwell thing. Man, this guy says some crazy stuff, and sometimes he tries to go on Fox and pretend like he's not so crazy. But the other times he'll have these really obscure, dumb tweets. There was one tweet one time about he got really defensive about parents being. No, I'm sorry, that was Chris Cuomo. He said a comment one time about like mocking these people who want guns to protect themselves against a tyrannical government, and he's like, "We got nukes," and people are like, "Are you saying that you're going to nuke the United States of America because you're just going to nuke the citizens? Like the military is just going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to nuke our families, our friends, and our neighbors." Now, I guess you might find someone deranged enough to do that, but that's why you're really jumping really aggressively there. And if you're talking about a power difference, like you should give up your guns because we have nukes. It's like, no. And I think they would probably use other weapons before they get to the nukes, but it was so aggressive. So he's been mocked before. He allegedly farted on TV. That was a big thing that he got mocked for quite a bit. He allegedly slept with a Chinese spy, which they're pretty sure it happened, but he won't confirm if that happened or not. But come on. And he was on the intelligence committee and stuff. So anyway, here's his brilliant tweet from the other day. Oh, that's the Kinzinger joke. Sorry. This is it. So Mitch McConnell calls on Democrats to pass a Supreme Court security bill after man arrested outside Brett Kavanaugh's home. He said House Democrats must pass this bill, and they need to do it today. No more fiddling around with this. They need to pass today before the sun sets. And that's what McConnell said. And so Swalwell retweeted and said, interesting how all of a sudden thoughts and prayers won't cut it. So what's amazing about the idiocy of Eric here, Representative Swalwell? Well, first of all, my first impression is, what is with these godless heathens that are so angry about thoughts and prayers? Like, thoughts and prayers, when people say that, that does not mean, hey, we're not going to do anything else. It means that we're thinking about you. We have empathy for your situation. We are wishing you well. We are praying for for your survival through this moment of intense, immeasurable grief. That you will, in the Bible, it talks about having a peace, that God can grant you a peace that passeth all understanding, which means like it doesn't make sense for you to have any kind of peace regarding your situation, yet God is able to grant it. Like, so when people pray, they are hoping that you will be able to get to that place that you can at least survive these awful, terrible things. Like, I don't think anyone expects that God's gonna like call Superman to do a once around the planet a couple times and to turn back time. Like, no one is expecting that to happen. People do pray, and believe, when someone's hurt and healing and other kind of stuff like that. But when people just say thoughts and prayers, especially after these mass tragedies, they're praying for comfort and they want you, um they're just being kind. They're just being kind. So it's really crazy when people like him have any sort of mockery toward these situations. I don't understand the aggression other than I said godless heathens. So there's that. Second of all, um people who say thoughts and prayers, it doesn't mean that they don't have a plan. There are people who are talking about having armed security at schools, whether it's a veteran or some. I talked the other day with a friend of mine. He's like, that's probably not best to just have veterans go there because they have to make citizens arrest, and it's best that you have some kind of training, and a sheriff will deputize them so they have arresting power and all this other kind of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes more sense, and they can just be a resource officer, you know. Um, so there's solutions like that. People talk about arming teachers, which I can see that going wrong, but there's also teachers that already do that, so that's something to also can consider. And I mostly, and I was really uncomfortable with the idea, just to be frank with you, prior to Uvalde and after Uvalde, with all those cops just standing around. I'm like, not necessarily like for the teachers needing it because they have to go down guns a blazing for the kids, which apparently I've heard some teachers like, we don't want to die for your kids, or we're not, you guys want us to die for your kids and we don't want to die. I'm like, what a heck of a thing to say. Parents, are you listening? But wouldn't you, just as a person, want to be able to protect yourself in a situation like that? Would you really just want to be trapped in your classroom as a fish in the barrel? I wouldn't want to live like that. So I think we should talk about options like those. Or, people need to talk about funding just better sort of security setup for schools, um, giving people vouchers so they can take their kids to a private school or charter school who may already have that kind of stuff if the government doesn't want to dish out the dough, even though they dish out money in other places. There's been conversations, harsher crimes and penalties and stuff with people actually who break gun laws, and making sure that stuff actually will pop up and not just get erased on people's records when they do things in school. As you know, because with which Democrats apparently have a problem with reporting, because stuff to authorities when people are in school, because they don't want to fund or support the prison to school pipeline, or school to prison pipeline, especially because people of color are hurt in the process. But if you don't put stuff on people's records, it's going to pop up. It's not going to pop up on some kind of background check. So you can talk about background checks, but if you're not doing things so things pop up in background checks, they're going to get a gun. So there's been people talking about things, but people get really angry when you are not so gung ho on the slow crawl to mass confiscation. That's what this is about. In my humble opinion, that's what this is about. Because people list things all the time that will not stop mass shootings. I saw someone leave a comment on a video like, how about we have these really, really expensive insurance fees for the guns? And it's like, are you trying to make owning a firearm something that only the upper class can do? And in an area where maybe the police don't get there very fast because of the high crime, they should be stopping the high crime, but I guess there's a lot to do, or they're stretched thin, or they're like, you know what, I'm not gonna die for you, because police don't actually have a duty to act, you know. So You don't want people like in the inner cities to be able to be able to protect themselves. So people say the most absurd things, but they're trying to figure out how far they can push you, and they're going to continuously keep trying to push you until they get to some kind of point where there's a registry, and after some kind of registry they can do some kind of mass confiscation. That's like the end goal for some of these, for a lot of these people. Now they won't be just open outright with that because they know that's a really really losing issue right now anyway. Right now it is. So no one is saying, Mr. Swalwell, that people who believe in thoughts and prayers only want thoughts and prayers. They have other solutions. Now, but what's really, 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 really stupid about this tweet here is that people who believe in thoughts and prayers aren't saying that thoughts and prayers are enough. Like I wholly believed in believe in the power of prayer, which I went into link about, on the show. I went to link about on my website, blacktnews.com. You can check out an article I wrote about that. I've seen prayer do so many miraculous, wonderful things in my life, my family's life, people in my church, etc., people all over the world. Literally love prayer. It's great. But we're not saying that prayer is enough. That's why we want to keep our guns. That's why we want to keep our guns, sir. No one is saying like, hey, prayers and thoughts are enough. Let's disarm Secret Service. Prayers and thoughts are enough. Let's disarm our military. Prayers and thoughts are enough. Let's defund the police. No one is saying that. No one is saying that. So this tweet, saying that, hey, we shouldn't hurry up and try to get security for the Supreme Court justices who are in the situation because there's a leaker and people are intimidating them and inflaming their insanity. Really, really inflaming their insanity. So much propaganda surrounding this particular topic of abortion and Roe v. Wade. And there's people protesting out their houses illegally because they are trying to change the opinion. That's why they're out there. It's illegal for them to be out there. All these people should be arrested, all of them. And if they were arrested, I think less people will probably go out and do that. Or maybe you'd have more crazies to show up and it'll, who knows? But people need to be arrested for doing this because it's illegal. So he would rather trash Mitch and have Democrats not do something to protect these people who are in danger, and they don't even care about who the leaker is, which is major red flags. Why don't you care about who the leaker is? To trash thoughts and prayers? How can these people be so radically just out of touch? I don't know. There's so many people who say dumb things like this. But this is a state rep, and I know he says notoriously stupid things, but this is nutty. Just wanted to draw that to your attention because this man is a fool. Man is an utter fool. Really quickly, I saw this great video. Matt Gaetz was talking about gun rights on the floor. So I just want to share the speech that he gave.
Speaker Pelosi tells us she's on a crusade for the children. Someone should maybe remind the Speaker the crusades did not always end well when they were reflexively driven by emotion and riddled with poor planning. No, this is no crusade for the children. If it were, you wouldn't leave our children as sitting ducks in gun-free zones when they go to school every day. Speaker says we need action. Well, we're for action. How about the action of my bill to create a national stand your ground law to strengthen self-defense, or Richard Hudson's bill for national concealed carry, or any number of proposals Republicans have offered to unlock the safe and secure environment when we have our military veterans and our former members of law enforcement able to carry a firearm responsibly in schools to be able to respond to these acts of violence. No, their version of action is more gun control, raising the age to be able to buy certain firearms. Well, on November 25th, 2021, a crazed lunatic with a knife broke into a home in El Paso and began assaulting a woman inside. The 20-year-old homeowner grabbed his rifle and killed the assailant. That's action. In 2017, in Sutherland Springs, Texas, a gunman opened fire inside the First Baptist Church. A Good Samaritan grabbed his AR-15 and engaged the shooter, stopping him from further carnage. A good use for an AR-15. In 2019, in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, a 19-year-old killed 3 would-be burglars who broke into his home. These situations happen every day, and there would be more death and more bloodshed if we were to accept these proposals from the Democrats. But the Second Amendment isn't about hunting or about self-defense. It is about power. It is about the power that is reserved in the citizenry to curate a balance so that Americans are not overrun by tyranny. And thank God we haven't had to use the Second Amendment for the purpose that some might have envisioned necessary when our founders were creating the Constitution. And that power belongs to the people, not to the Democrats trying to take their rights away and to make their schools less safe.
That was a great tidbit there. I mean, right after Uvalde, there was a woman who actually stopped a shooter who I think was going to show up at like an open house or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he had an illegal weapon, and she had a legal weapon, and pow, took him out. It was a woman. You know, it's good when good people are armed, like the person who took out the shooter in Uvalde after the police didn't do it and wouldn't let parents and stuff in. The person who went in was an off-duty border patrol agent who was in the middle of having his hair cut, and he borrowed a gun from his barber. So what would have happened if the barber did not have his gun in the shop? It's good when good people with guns are there. Like, there are over 400 million guns in the United States. If America really had a gun problem, I think you would know about it. But unfortunately, we do have violent crime from time to time. And sometimes we have psychopaths who are not stopped, even though there are warning signs for some of these people. I got into a back and forth with someone who's on my TikTok live, and then they're in my comments and they're like, we should have stuff for mental health. I'm like, yes, we should have stuff for mental health, but they do need some kind of due process. You cannot proactively remove their rights and have some kind of, like someone has to pass a mental check or whatever to get the gun. I'm not for people in having some kind of infringement on your right, because back in the 1800s, there was somebody who you had these psycho sort of psychologists or whatever that invented, I think it was called dropotomania, where they said that, slaves or people who want to be free, it's a mental illness if they just wanted to be free. So, of course, that's a ridiculous thing, but that happened in the past when people want to limit your freedoms. So, you got to be careful about the kind of people who are in power who may take advantage of the system. How many people right now are just giving kids hormones, not because it's good for them, but because that's what's politically, that's what people want to do. That's where the tide has moved. I mean, if you saw Matt Walsh's documentary with pediatricians and whatever who talk about, what is a woman, they won't answer the question, and they're saying that kids can show that they're gender confused as a baby, and when they're ready to give them hormones, and they're lying and saying that you can just pause puberty as if it's not going to have any kind of other sort of effect. It's just ludicrous. It's just ludicrous. But there's so big pharma gets money from all this stuff, and I'm sure there's other nefarious sort of reasons, but it's Jordan Peterson is like, these people are crazy. A therapist does not affirm people. You go into therapy and you're trying to suss out your problems, but a therapist they're not supposed to just agree with you. Why are you in therapy if there's not a problem? Like, you're supposed to figure out the root of it, not just go with your client's assumption and then write them a prescription for hormones. So, there's some crazy people in these fields of study. So no, I don't want just automatically you don't have your rights, you have to prove. But if someone is crazy, you can go to court and be like, this person is a danger, and their limitations on their rights and stuff need to be, I don't think they can handle that kind of stuff. But people need some kind of due process. So anyway, Matt Gaetz gave a great speech there, and don't let these people pull a fast one over on you. By the way, I already mentioned this, but inflation is at a 40-year high. But Biden is still, he wants to spend. He still wants to spend. They do not know how to. I don't know. They have to know. Biden's been in the game a long time. He has people who are, repeats from the Obama administration who, they're all really, really into their ideology, and a lot of them will lie, but I'm so in between, like, are they just lying, or how much is the lie, and how much is their ideology, and how much is like deliberately wanting to destroy the country. I'm not sure what that balance is, because I do believe that they believe that their ends will justify the means. No matter how hard you're hurting today, they believe that it's a good thing for the climate agenda that gas is high and you don't know how you're going to get around. They think that's a good thing. And these Democrats, they know that their policies and their aggression toward the energy companies affect supply, and how much people plan to have the supply in the future. All this stuff works together. Like, it kills me that there's people who heard Biden say he wanted to destroy the fossil fuel industry, and they're like, nope, he has nothing to do with gas prices. Like, are you kidding me? And Granholm, the energy secretary, former governor of Michigan, who presided over the last decade, mentioned how she doesn't believe that gas prices are probably going to go down. So what, you guys don't plan to solve the problem? You think are you just trying to say that greedy companies are just going to keep them high? Because if you set the right sort of atmosphere that the prices have to be low, they will go low. But they're not probably going to get too low, as long as Biden is a president. It's pretty sad. Now, if there's some kind of well, there is going to be a red wave, maybe they could learn their lesson a bit and try to have some kind of like come to Jesus moment and be like, we got to change things around so that at least someone wins 2024. It's not going to be Biden. But I don't know. I don't know if they will kind of make that course correction. Clinton sort of was able to make some course corrections on things, and but I don't foresee that with Biden. He's not probably long for this world. What does he care about the long run of what happens? Just to be honest, what does he care? But Biden's not the only one lying. Like, I already mentioned this, but Attorney General Dana Nessa from Michigan, she retweeted, and I'm sorry, not tweeted, but she posted an article on Facebook about, like, they believe out in Kalamazoo that the gas prices were over $5. And she's like, if you're aware of any price gouging, take a picture and report it. And it's like, bro, it's $5 like everywhere. Where in Michigan right now is it? Maybe there's some places, but it's pretty much $5 just about everywhere that I've seen. And if it was under $5 somewhere, I would have got that gas today. So where do you think these folks are really price gouging this stuff in the state? Like, are you talking about you're trying to go after the big gas companies themselves, or are you talking about going after these gas stations? Because again, they're not making, according to them, if you talk to some people, just have conversations when you go to the gas station, folks. They say they're not making much money on it, but I do know that Michigan does have like 27 cents, for as far as like the gas tax, and then you have 6% sales tax on gas. So Republicans, I think it was in March, tried to at least do a pause on the gas prices for the 27 cents, and the Democrats didn't want to do that, and Whitmer didn't want to do that because they said there's too much money that comes in from the gas taxes that they put like in the funds, and it, they use it for road projects and other kind of stuff, which people can't get on the roads if the gas is too high. So which also I think they don't want like long-term solutions with the roads, because it's too good of a job security for a lot of people. So they don't want long-term solutions with that either. But that's a story for a different day. but they did talk about like perhaps doing with the 6% sales tax, but it's like, why? Things are kind of so dire. Why not get rid of them both right now and address the budget in other kind of ways? But that's not what they want. That's not what they want. So they just can't be honest about their roles in this. And I don't believe they want to solve the problem because they have too much like climate agenda stuff that at the end of the day that they really, 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 really want to do. Okay, moving on. Last thing I really want to talk about today is Fox News had this article, well, this video that they did this segment, I guess because it's Pride Month, about this kid who's been trans and since he was a little kid. So Matt Walsh, who just had the documentary, which is a smashing success, What is a Woman? It's their most streamed thing from like Daily Wire. They had their biggest numbers. It's really, really high rating from the audience scores. It's gotten rave reviews from the audience because critics refuse to review it, but it hasn't really mattered. It's a very, very big success for Daily Wire, according to them anyway. But it is a good documentary if you haven't seen it. So anyway, he tweeted this out to Fox, and he's like, I'm glad that I've had a platform and been able to go on the show many times, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. I don't care if my relationship is destroyed by saying it, but this is really perverse that they have this sort of segment airing. So I'm just gonna show it to you. But it is curious. Which I don't think a ton of people on Fox would probably be cool with this, but I mean, somebody filmed it and somebody aired it, and they're like, it's brave and it's stunning. And this is the sort of stuff that we should not be supporting right now in our society.
Down the street, you wouldn't think anything different.
14-year-old Rylan Whittington is a typical Southern California teenager. And the Whittingtons, along with mom Hillary, dad Jeff, and sister Brinley, are a typical family. The only difference, though, in Rylan's eyes, is what this family can mean to the tens of thousands of kids under 18 who identify as transgender.
We put our story out there so people could.
He's from California. I wonder, this guy looks familiar. I can't tell with the mask, but I wonder if that's Senator Weiner, which we talked about the other day. I'm just trying to confirm really quickly to see this picture of Weiner. Because Senator Weiner said the other day that it looks like him. It looks a lot like him. I don't know if he wears glasses or not. Yes, he does. I think that's him. So it's Senator Weiner from California. He had someone from Texas had tweeted out that they were going to make some legislation dealing with the whole trans stuff, like that's not trans, but the drag queen shows thing. Because there's one in Texas where it happened at a bar, gay bar, where you're supposed to be 21 and over to enter and stuff. But in the backdrop, there was a neon sign that said it's not going to lick itself, and they had kids there who were like doing runway stuff, and people encourage like kids to bring money to tip drag queens and stuff. So it's really, really weird that there's this phenomenon across the country where you're dragging all these kids to these drag shows, not just a drag time story hour, but like having other kinds of performances where they encourage kids to come to things that are not age appropriate. And I don't think it's age appropriate, period. But especially with some of this stuff going on, and like some of these performers are weirdos and sickos and have OnlyFans and other stuff like that. So anyway, someone from Texas was like, okay, we'll make some kind of like bill or something. So Weiner tweeted out like, oh, I know, this gave me a great idea. We should have a drag 101 curriculum in schools, and a drag time story hour or something like that will be like sufficient enough for the class or something. And so I don't know if he meant that just as a troll, but this is also the same legislator who also he lessened the penalties for you knowingly exposing someone to HIV. So that's what behind this kid behind this kid in this report. It looks like that's Weiner. That's what he did. And another thing that he did is that they lessened the penalties for men who have sex with kids. And it was, his reasoning is that the rules were unfair because basically a similar law is for heterosexuals with the pedophilia stuff or sleeping with the minors. It could be at the judge's discretion whether you are listed as a sex offender. And when it came to stuff that would be like anal sex or oral sex or something like that, that stuff would not be based on the judge's discretion. It would just be automatic. So they wanted, instead of just saying, okay, everybody needs to go to jail, they're like, let's lessen it because it's, equity or something garbage like that. So that's that person. Pretty sure that's him. Pretty darn sure that's him. So let's go on.
Transgender.
We put our story out there so people could see that like there's another family out there that is going through what we're going through, or there's another family who's proud of who they are.
Before Ryland could even speak, he managed to tell his parents that he is a boy.
I could just see that it wasn't him trying to be a brat. It was like painful. It was truly painful for him to have to wear feminine clothing and for us constantly telling him that you're a girl.
And unlike some trans kids, when Ryland came out at age 5 a few years later, he had the full support of his parents.
5 years old. 5 years old. That you know what it is when you have a child that you say can't talk but is telling you that they're trans? It's called your imagination. It's called your imagination. There are kids, like, there are people who believe, like, oh, if your little girl is throwing hair bows out of her hair, then she must be really a boy. Or have you met a kid before? My little nieces, they like to take stuff out their hair. My sister Tina, when she was a baby, you couldn't keep nothing on her head. That doesn't mean they're boys. They love their dresses and all kind of stuff. Man, I watched them the other day, and I came over to their house watching my nephew as he was doing some of his school stuff, and the girls woke up, and then they were in dresses, and I'm like, why are you in dresses? Who put you? I guess they wanted to wear dresses the other night, and they put them on, and then they wanted to. Serena, the youngest one, wanted to put on there's the baby. He's the youngest, but she was the youngest there at the time, and so she wanted to put on another dress. And I'm like, we're not going outside to play in a dress. And her older sister had to be like, she's like, Serena, honey. She's so cute. She's like, those dresses are going to be for church. They're for church. And so she was a little sad, but we got her some shorts. No, we got her some pants. She wore some pants. So it's just really crazy. Your kid might just be a tomboy. Your kid could be gay. But just because you're saying they're painful because they're in a dress or something, like, kids take their clothes off. Kids will do things where they'll take off their shoes. They'll lift up their dress. Like, sweetheart, don't do that. Like, kids don't know what they want, and they certainly don't know at 5 years old that they are trans. Are you a crazy person? Now they probably read up on stuff and affirmed it, whatever. And kids may say, I feel like a boy. But they don't know what that means. And as Matt Walsh did an entire documentary, people can't even name what a woman is. So this is crazy. And again, this segment right here, this segment is on Fox News.
Initially, there was some pushback from us in trying to understand this.
We were confused like most people are. We thought that gender and sexuality were the same thing. It took us a while to figure out that those two things are different, and that children actually do recognize their gender identity very young. Some of them, not all.
Gender and sex are two different words, but they are meaningless without the other. That is one reason why people take their hormones and they do the surgery, because they are chasing a reality. They are trying to get to the end of the rainbow to get that pot of gold that will absolutely never be there. It and then she's just like sex and gender. I didn't know that there was a difference. I had to learn, and there's no pushback in this segment at all about this. While they're saying this propagandic nonsense that Matt Walsh would have had a field day if this had aired in his documentary. I'm pretty sure he tweeted it out. I wonder if he made it on a show today or not.
They listened to Rylan and to Hillary's conservative faith.
For me, it's just a deep spiritual belief that if you believe in God and he, created us the way he wanted us, well then yes, he created Rylan just the way he is.
Demons! That's demonic, man. Like, who are you listening to? What are you communing with? Saying, well, God just made us that way. No, sweetheart. God's not the author of confusion. That's not how it works. First of all, if God had a purpose for us before the foundations of the world, and called us before we were even in the belly and other kind of stuff, God has a purpose for you before you even have flesh to be confused about, okay? She is well aware, if she's ever picked up her Bible and read it before, that men and women have different roles, that they are both, important, that they work together in God's design, but they are separate. They are different, and a man is supposed to be a man and a woman is supposed to be a woman. There is nothing about her faith that makes any sort of sense for this sort of worldview. So if you want to believe all this stuff, you can say that, but it has nothing to do with your faith. There is nothing in your faith that is like, oh yeah, I'm made this way, so God made me this way, therefore I must be all good. That's crazy talk, because you are supposed to deny yourself. Sorry, I'm not gonna apologize for getting a little like scriptural here. Like the Bible, Jesus said you have to, if you want to follow after him, you have to deny yourself. You are not perfect. You are not perfect. You are choosing to reject how God made you. That is what you are doing. So don't be like, well, God just made him confused. God didn't make your kid confused at 5 years old for them to be like, you know what, I'm a boy. That's not what happened. Your parents who listened to the wrong things, who just chose not to be good parents, because your kid's not trans at 5. Your kid's not trans before they can even talk and decide their gender or understand it. They can't even spell that word. This is so perverse.
And they listened to families. They met in support groups.
There was a father who was sitting across the table.
Yeah, a lot of these people will find other people within the same circle. Read like something like Abigail Schreier, or at least listen to her counselor interviews. A lot of these people, in a lot of the explosion that's happening, like in the trans and stuff movement, they talked about Bill Maher was kind of waking up and stuff, talking about it and stuff too, even though he laughed at like Dennis Prager not too long ago about some of the stuff that he was saying, how far it was gone. And they're like, this is something that is social. This is something that is social, and the really big explosion is happening in young people in like leftist circles. And again, these people are from California, so I'm sure there's a lot of people who they're probably confused at first, but people feel special with their kids going through this, and they don't want to hurt their kids, and they think they're doing right by their kids. That doesn't mean that you're doing the right thing by your kid.
He says, you have no idea how lucky you are to be here, which kind of took me back. I didn't at that point consider myself lucky to be there. And he said, our child had displayed this gender dysphoria or this gender misalignment at the same age that Rylan has. And we didn't listen, and we pushed back.
That pushback led that child to turn to self-harm as a teenager, which 60% of trans and non-binary kids engage in, according to the Trevor Project. More than 50% consider suicide.
That, for me, was the turn.
And they have high rates of depression regardless. Just FYI.
I didn't want to see Rylan to go through that.
I'd rather have a living son than a dead daughter. And I guarantee that if we had pushed back and done what a lot of parents do, I don't think that we would have either one of the kids that you see before you here
She still has 2 daughters. One is just confused.
today.
Allowing him to live authentically and true to himself and be who he really feels like he is. When you get to know Rylan, you see just how proud and confident he is of himself.
I wonder if Rylan decided that he was black, would they allow Rylan to wear blackface? Do you think that these Californian folks would do that? Be like, our child is black. Do you think they would do that? Buy her a nice little fro. Put some bronzer on the face, maybe shoe polish. I don't know. Do you think that they'd be willing to do that if that was Rylan's authentic self? I mean, maybe some people would, but I'm like, where do people draw the line on this stuff? Because your true authentic self is the, like, as she said, how God created that. How you came out the womb. Doctors didn't make a mistake looking at this, characteristics and the knowing the chromosomes and whatnot, and make a mistake and was like, oh, it was a boy the whole time. Not what happened. Not what happened.
Rylan's story got international attention in 2014 when a family YouTube video went viral, and Hillary has since written a book called Raising Ryland.
I never thought that I would be known for this as well as I am, but really it's just a small part of who I am.
He just brushes things off his shoulders, like it's fine. He moves on in his life, and he's just kind of, I think everything we've been through, he's just learned to do that, and he's really good at it. I could never do that.
The Whittingtons believe sharing their story could make a lasting difference in another child's life, something they learned from that support group father nearly a decade ago.
I'm just here to make the ride smoother for others. You might be struggling right now, but we believe in you, this family. We might not know you, we might not know where you live, but we understand you and we believe in you.
What extraordinary courage displayed by Ryland, his sister Brinley, father Jeff, and mom Hillary. I want to thank the Whittington family for speaking to us. It's not easy, particularly at a time when transgender issues have been politicized. People are afraid of what they do not understand, Dana. This family hopes their story will lead to more understanding, more acceptance, and ultimately more.
So, yeah. I don't know what's up with Fox deciding to air that segment, and especially in just a puff piece, sort of just letting the propaganda flow through with the sex and the gender. It's different that the kid was able to know their gender before they could even talk, and then transition at 5, and they're like, oh yeah, okay. Now this kid's 14 years old, and maybe this kid will never have any sort of regret. I don't know, but we know that there are people who do have regret, and a lot of these people who voice their opinions, how they are radicalized on things like Tumblr and whatnot, when they speak out on YouTube and TikTok and other places, people try to shame them. People try to take their stuff down. They get mass reported because people feel invalidated. And if you don't validate these folks, they're like, oh, they're going to kill themselves. And that is absolutely awful. But what you're saying, so there's some things that are obviously wrong. If everyone else doesn't comply with your worldview, that you're willing to take yourself out of it. And what you need to do is get to the root, the heart of those issues, and not turn to self-mutilation. But they just want to affirm. And so I was glad Matt Walsh called out Fox News with this segment, because that was really something. It was really something. The poor kid. But that mother bastardizing the gospel for her agenda. Absolutely sick. Absolutely freaking sick. So anyway, that is the show for today. I thank you guys for joining me. Again, tomorrow I'm going to be having a TikTok Not a TikTok. I'm sorry. I'll be having a TikToker on. This is Savvy. She's almost at like 1 million followers on TikTok. She's a brilliant young woman, and so at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, we will be having a show, and we'll be talking about different TikTok videos and just sharing different opinions on life. I always love when I have Savvy on, and we have good conversation before. We have got conversation during when we shut the stuff off. We have got good conversations just talking about stuff. So that again, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Tonight, if you are in the area and anywhere in Michigan, like near Rochester Hills, and you want to have the drive, today we are having a Q&A with my mommy, and she's raised 7 kids. She has a wealth of knowledge, but she's very shy. So this is like the first time she's doing something like that. It will not be streamed, so there will not be any sort of link to watch that at. But if you would like to come in live, you are more than welcome. It is I'm not gonna say once in a lifetime thing because we hope that she'll do it more often, but it is a rare occurrence, and she definitely has a lot of things that are worth sharing. So that's the address to the church. It's Rochester Hills Christian Center. The building is actually called Anchors Assembly, but it's like right off of like Adams in Michigan. So if you can make it, I encourage you to make it. It is also my birthday. So if you would like to support blackteennews.com, today's a good day to do that, but blackteennews.com/donate. If you would like to leave a gift, I do appreciate everyone who's helped to support. But if you can't, leave a financial gift, I know times are tough, and frankly, just maybe you don't want to, but make sure that you're still liking, that you're subscribing, that you're sharing things that go out. That does really, really help as well. And I really appreciate everyone who takes the time to do those things. I also want to thank Brighter Michigan PAC. I was in their studio today. If I said something today that triggers you, no one cares, but and they especially don't care, and it especially doesn't matter because it doesn't work like that. But I just appreciate the fact that they like uplifting conservative voices. And make sure that you guys check out different merchandise that I have on my store, like different kind of shirts and stuff that we have that also helps the site. And you can always get some cool stuff for your wardrobe. And one personal note, my birthday gift to myself, I finished another book. And if you do not know, I'm a writer, I'm an author. I have 15 published books out. If you go to blackteennews.com, there's a banner under the merchandise, on the merchandise page with a couple books and stuff on it. If you click on it, it takes you to my website, ninjadustpublishing.com, for my books. I have Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear, which I wrote during the pandemic because people had lost their minds. It's not exclusively about the pandemic, but it's just about how to overcome fear, what's good fear, and how we're not supposed to allow fear to overtake us. And if you do, people will absolutely blatantly take advantage of you. So I wish people would take that advice, but you can take that advice and go pick that up on Amazon. That's my only nonfiction book. All my other books are fiction. I have a historical fiction fantasy book. This takes place in the Civil War. Imagine like X-Men meets like Underground Railroad kind of stuff. So it's a really, really good series. So you can check that out. I also have Super Kid. I have quite a few people who watch Black Teen News who got Super Kid for the kids in their lives. It's a chapter book about a boy with an overactive imagination. He believes he has superpowers. He does not really. He has a friend named Kiara who goes along with it because she has a huge crush on him. She's way smarter than him, but so she keeps him out of too much trouble. But she becomes Princess Lady Diva, and then they help out Lee, and so he thinks it's real. So he becomes Stickman. They train him kind of like their Batman, and they go around the neighborhood just really trying to do good. In the next book, there's a bully who they name Frostbite, and Felix has to learn what do you do when you have to face an impossible battle. And also there's a new character, Revo Girl, who really helps them out too. So those are really good books for your kids. The rest of my books are like contemporary fantasy, paranormal romance. This was my newest book that I released, Anubis, Princess of the Damned, and that's on Amazon. I just finished a book, like a new book, like literally right before I left the house to come to the studio. I was like really trying to finish it before I had to go to church and do everything tonight, because I'm like, I want to finish another book. So this was my 32nd completed book. I did have a goal of finishing 30 books by my 30th birthday, and so I was able to do that. And just so much stuff have been going on that I haven't been writing at the pace that I would normally write. And so I got to 32. So I plan to finish some more this year. And thank you very much for the happy birthdays in the chats. So I was excited to finish it. I'm gonna have some more that I'll finish this year, and more that I will have out. But it's always exciting to finish a project, and I feel really good about myself, at least that. So that's my gift to myself. And I have not seen much of my family yet today. I will see them tonight at church, so I'll see what else I may get for my birthday. But I do appreciate a couple people out there actually did I put my Cash App out there in my PayPal, so there's a couple people who sent me some stuff personally, and there was some stuff that people got sent to the website. So I do very much appreciate you guys. We've had a long road so far with Black Tea News, and I hope to take it really far. I'm really encouraged by a lot of people who like Daily Wire to see what they're doing, and Eric July and Blaze and PragerU and Tim Pool, all these folks have really taken their craft very seriously with media and are doing their best to break through the barrier of the mainstream media. Tim Pool gets constantly raided, like swatted by the FBI. He was doing a live stream the other day, and they had to leave the studio. And people were like, there's more people like watching an empty studio than people watch like stuff on like MSNBC and stuff. It was kind of funny, but frustrating for them, I'm sure. But people are very threatened by independent thinkers and people who encourage other people to be independent thinkers. I don't expect everybody who watches my show to agree with me on all the issues. And I don't care if you don't agree with me. I mean, I do want to persuade people, and I want to encourage other people to go out there and to persuade people to the facts. But in just a different way of thinking, maybe perspectives that you didn't perhaps think about yourself. I've changed my mind on things. I changed my mind just kind of reading something while on air. I'm like, oh geez, I didn't realize that, so I have to rethink something. So but the important thing is that we learn together, and we're not so pig-headed within our own minds that we can't be wrong. But obviously I think I'm right on quite a bit, or else I wouldn't be sharing my particular perspective. But um I, I know one of the main reasons why 2020 went the way it did, and why so many people were mad about Elon Musk buying Twitter, or why Biden had the misinformation board that he tried to do that went down in flames, or why they keep coming from social media companies and other, like in New York, they're like making it that they have to report that here it's hate speech, or they're going to get fined. There's a reason why people do like stuff like that, and why YouTube was taking down stuff if it went against COVID, and they took down some of my stuff that I didn't say any false information that disputed the CDC, which is CDC isn't always right. But there's a reason why they want to come for your guns. They do not want a population that can't be controlled. So I will resist. They like their word resist. I will continue resisting, and I hope that you will continue resisting by just being an informed voter. So I thank everyone who has watched Black Tea News, who has supported Black Tea News, who reads the articles, who engages online with me in the comments when I post memes or whatever, or who watches live and shares and encourages other people to share. And we will continue doing our thing, and we will continue to grow. And with your support, with your help, whether it's financially, which I do really appreciate financially, but I also appreciate your view, and I certainly appreciate when you share. So God bless, and join me tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. with This Is Savvy. We're going to have a lot of fun. And if you can't join me tomorrow night, I will see you on Monday. God bless.